Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Brandon.
And welcome to Living Electric.
We're both content creators and electric vehicle enthusiasts.
And through this podcast, we hope to share our experience with owning electric vehicles and help you join the electric life.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Living Electric. We are in season 3, which is crazy to think about. It's gone fast.
I know. I think we got some good time off, did some good brainstorming. We're really excited for season 3. I think we got a good lineup of episodes here. And excited to talk to you all about some more EV stories and give you a little update on what's been happening in our lives as well. So
yeah, definitely. Well, do you want to start, Alex?
Sure. Yeah. So YouTube wise, been doing really well. We're getting close to 25,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely insane.
That's awesome.
I know. Yeah. And been doing some fun videos. I did a couple road trip videos over the past couple months. Just got to do the plaid video, which Brandon actually came down and helped with. So that is now...
Accidentally took the key home with me?
Yeah, accidentally took the key from the people we were recording with. So thank you to them for letting us borrow their car for a little bit, but we'll try not to steal keys next time. I don't know if you did that. Did you do that on purpose or not? Were you thinking you're going to commandeer the plaid at some time?
I figured when it turned into a robo-taxi, I could just, hit the key fob.
Yeah, exactly.
Go plaid whenever I wanted to. That was a fun car to record.
It was. Yeah, definitely the quickest and highest performance car I'll probably drive for the next few years. I would think. I don't know how many other cars are going to come close to that, but yeah, that video's now posted. Still driving my Model 3. We're coming up on 2 years of ownership in mid-November here, so it's been going really well. I've got a 2-year ownership review in the works, going to talk about kind of the wear and tear that's happened over 2 years, because it's no longer a new car, which is a little sad, but
2 years goes fast.
It does, yeah.
Yep.
So you're coming up on 2 years of ownership with your Bolts as well, right?
I actually already hit it in September.
Oh, it was in September. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. We just recorded our 2-year review of the car, and it's still the same. It's just the Bolt. Nothing's changed. Yeah, I mean, the main factor that we're dealing with is the battery recall right now with our 2019, and we submitted for a buyback or an MSRP swap. So we're just waiting for GM to get back to us.
Gotcha. That's good.
But it's been an eventful 2 years, but the video should be live soon. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What about on the YouTube side of things?
Yeah, YouTube's going really well. We just passed 300,000 total views last night, actually. And we just passed 2,000 subscribers. And Tyler is now a co-host of Everyday EV. So we have some exciting things happening. We're definitely being recognized more and more every day, and it's been fun. I'm excited to see what happens next year.
I know, yeah.
Lots of things planned.
You're getting a lot of traction with like non-YouTube people, which is really cool. So that's always cool when you kind of break out of that bubble and you're like you're getting the attention of companies and like people that aren't in the YouTube space. So it's really
exactly.
neat.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's going well. Plus, it's fun to have Tyler on it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. You two have really good chemistry on camera. So your
you.
ID4 video is really entertaining.
Well, we're hoping to keep that energy going.
So our main topic today, we're talking about some winter driving tips. So it has already started getting very cold in Columbus here. I'm sure same as the case in Cleveland.
Yep.
But
it is 43 degrees right
43? What am I? I'm at 46, so also equally cold.
It came on too quickly.
I agree. Yeah, I really prefer the hot weather. Like, I'd rather it be 95 or 100 degrees out versus how cold it is now.
Yeah, I'm definitely more 75.
Well, ideally,
nice breeze,
but if you had to pick one. But we figured we'd talk about some winter driving tips because that time of year is here. It's fast approaching. It's only going to get colder the next few months here. And driving an EV in the winter is a little bit different than driving a gas car in the winter. Obviously, driving just overall is a lot different just because sometimes it's icy or whatever. But specifically with EVs, there's some things you got to think about and things you should probably know if it's your first winter going into winter with an EV. So What's been the biggest thing you've noticed, like with your cars going to winter driving? The ID4 hasn't been through the winter yet, so this should be
Not yet.
This should be interesting.
Not yet. We just got our winter tires, so it's a good start. I would say the biggest thing, and it's kind of like the elephant in the room with EV ownership in the winter, is loss of range. Any vehicle, regardless if it's electric or gas, you will see a loss of efficiency, just because of the way that energy is being used. But you will notice a decline in your driving range. I think depending on the temperature, if it's below 40 degrees, we see about maybe 20% loss. And if it's super cold, we see about 40% loss.
Wow. Okay.
Depending on the day. But that is one thing you'll notice. And Alex, you did some research on why that is.
Yeah, so apparently the optimal operating temperature of a lithium-ion battery, which is what most EVs use, is between 60 degrees and 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 15 to 35 degrees Celsius for our non-Fahrenheit people or the rest of the world. But yeah, that was eye-opening for me because I really hadn't thought too much about like how much efficiency is lost. I really don't worry about it too much, or at least I try not to. I certainly see some loss in the winter, but I think your driving style and speed sometimes plays more into that than the actual just like cold temperature. Like I was driving this past weekend and our efficiency was really bad, but it was also very windy. Like it was around like 50 degrees, but it was also very windy. So that certainly does not help.
Actually, you brought up a good point. Same with driving in like different like weather conditions like rain or snow. If it's not like a dry surface, obviously you're causing more friction between the tires and the road, which is obviously going to impact your efficiency as well, especially driving in like heavy snow.
So weather is certainly a big factor. But that's I would agree with you there. I think the range and the nice thing about EVs is you're charging generally wherever you're parked overnight. So when it is cold, you don't need to stop at the gas station and go fill up your car. Generally.
Exactly. And you brought up another good point. If you are plugged in overnight, you can precondition your car without, emitting anything and, killing everybody in your house to warm up your car.
in your garage too, with the door closed.
That is a major plus for driving electric.
Yeah, on range too. I think this goes back to kind of the whole range discussion in general. The nice thing, if you are plugged in overnight, this loss of range really isn't going to be an issue unless you've got like a super long commute and you actually are using like most of your EV's battery throughout the day, or you're on a long trip. So I think that's an important thing to remember. And I believe you should probably be doing this anyway, is like leave a comfortable buffer with how much you're thinking you're going to arrive with. Like I would add 10 to 15% to that so that you're not arriving on 0% or very low on mileage. I think it's a lot safer to leave a little bit of a buffer there.
Yes. And one other thing to remember too is when you are using your heat, you will be using more electricity to produce that heat. Every vehicle is different now. Some electric cars are coming with heat pumps, so it uses that heating element more efficiently. But our Bolt and our ID4 does not have that. So I know whenever we turn on the heat, we do see some range loss because of that. So that's why I always recommend preconditioning your vehicle before leaving the house. Keep it plugged in. That way it's using the electricity from the charger. And then you get in your car, it's warm, and then you just turn the heat down, and you should be ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, does your app or anything show like a snowflake on the bolts to say like, hey, your battery's cold?
No. No. Yeah,
Okay.
I to be honest, I think some of the data monitoring for the Bolt, it should be improved. because I just get in it and I'm like, oh, okay. lost some regen.
It's cold. I lost range.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the ID4. I know that the Volkswagen mobile app's more in depth. It's not quite like Tesla, but it's still pretty there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so my app's really nice because it'll actually show on the battery, it'll show like a little snowflake, and then a portion of the battery will actually show as blue. So one thing that happens when your battery does get cold is it kind of like locks part of your range away. That doesn't mean that that range isn't usable. It just means that the battery needs to heat up before you can use all of that extra battery capacity. I notice this generally happening when your battery is really low on charge, because I didn't have home charging like all of last year and like both winters I've had my car. So
Yeah.
it
This one's gonna be much better for you.
yeah, it will be. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I often saw my battery on blue or showing a snowflake because I was parked outside and it would get covered in snow and it was just a bad time. So
Well, thank God for garages.
that's
Yep.
right. That's right.
Well, that actually is a good leeway into keeping your car plugged in. That way, it's using the electricity from the charger to help kind of like thermal management your battery pack and keep things warmed up. Obviously, that depends on the power output of your charger. If you're charging like on a typical household outlet, it might not be enough to keep your battery warm. But if you are charging on a level 2 or like a higher output like home charger, you should be good, I would say. I think that depends on the car. I know like from time to time we'll notice our Bolt kick on and it sounds like a coffee pot boiling. Like you can actually hear like the liquid like flowing through the battery pack. Yeah. Which is kind of cool to like know that it's, taking care of itself. Self-care is a good thing.
For sure. I've noticed my what's it called? My like HVAC or like my battery management system, whatever, like the thermal management stuff in the car generally uses about close to like 1 kilowatt of energy. So if I am plugged in on a regular wall outlet, it's essentially not going to charge my car. It's just enough to keep the battery warm or keep the heat on in the car. So that's a good thing to know as well when you are charging in colder temperatures, is not only does the charger have to charge your car, it also has to warm up the battery to charge it. Because when you're charging, it's better to charge at kind of that optimal temperature so that you're charging most efficiently, but that doesn't always happen in cold weather. So sometimes if you are like stuck in the snow or stuck in a really cold climate and you're plugged into a regular wall outlet, it might not even be enough to charge the car. It's just going to be enough to keep the battery warm, which can be a little scary. So that's another thing to consider as well.
Yeah, so speaking about like fast charging in the winter time, this is actually, I have a perfect example. The Bolt EV charges at 50 kilowatts, like on a fast charger, and we've done some road trips in sub 50 degree weather, and it's actually interesting because like as you're driving, you feel like the battery pack should warm up like most other EVs, but for whatever reason, the Bolt didn't. And when we got to the charger, it actually took about like 20 minutes to actually warm up the battery because of the charging rate. And then once the battery is optimal temperature, that's when you start seeing like peak charge rates and things like that. But that's probably a bad example because I think that's just the Bolt. Other cars have better management in terms of thermal. Yeah,
because you would not only have to wait when you got to the charger to charge your car, but you also had to wait initially for it to heat up and get it the optimal temperature.
Yeah, which the Tesla has a feature for that, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure how new it is though, because it came like in an update like a year after I had my car, where it will now precondition before you get to a supercharger. So when you're I've noticed anywhere from like 30 minutes to 5 minutes before we arrive at a charger, depending on the temperature and what the battery's like at the time. It will pop up on the screen saying preconditioning for supercharging. So that will actually start kicking in that battery management system to heat it up or cool it down, depending on how hot it is outside, and get it ready for like optimal charging speeds. So that is really nice because by the time I get to the charger, it's like it's ready to go. It's going to pull those peak speeds if we're down really low.
Yeah, that's nice.
Which that did scare me this past weekend, and I should have done a video on this because it was an interesting trip, but we were arriving back into Columbus after going to a wedding last weekend, and we were getting very low on charge, and we ended up stopping at a supercharger like farther away from home in Dublin, Ohio, which is kind of like coming back from Northwest Ohio. And I decided to stop at that one because I'm like, I don't think we're going to make it all the way home with the with the battery, so let's just stop here. It said we were going to arrive with like 2%, so it was cutting it close anyway.
Wow.
But we get like 5 miles out, and battery's already pretty low. It's at like 5% or something, and it kicks on preconditioning the battery, which takes energy to do. So I was very confused of like why the battery would be preconditioning. Like, I'd rather make it there than like run out of charge because my battery decided to precondition. But I guess it did the calculation, said it was going to be better to precondition than save the range. So
what percentage did you arrive at?
We rolled in with 2% left.
Okay.
So very low, but
wow.
I've arrived with less, so I wasn't feeling too bad. We were originally going to drive all the way over to Polaris, closer to where we live, and I said we should probably stop in Dublin because we were going to arrive in Polaris with like 1 or 0%. So
wow, that's amazing that the preconditioning really takes into like everything accountable to like do it properly. Like, I would love to see like the string of data for those calculations.
Yeah, well, I hope it does. That's the thing. I don't know if it does or not, because I was confused to why it would have preconditioned it. But
I feel like that's a double-edged sword. Like,
yeah, exactly.
The car's
like,
too
I don't
smart.
care if I have to wait 5 minutes after I get to the supercharger to heat up. Like, just make sure I make it there.
Right.
But
I do know other cars have that feature. Our ID4 doesn't have that yet, in terms of like if you navigate through the onboard navigation, it doesn't precondition the battery, but the Taycan has that. So
gotcha.
Yeah, which would make sense if it's charging at like 270 kilowatts. Like, it's gonna have to be warmed up and ready to go.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it gets more important when you get to those higher charging speeds or those higher power levels. So
yeah, anything's fast compared to the Bolt.
it's true.
Yep. So, Alex, with driving in the wintertime, have you noticed any regen differences? Do you change your regen setting to anything different than you would like in the summertime?
Yeah, so we talked a lot about the charging side of things, but on the actual driving side, things are a lot different because just like your battery has to be at an optimal temperature to charge, it also has to be at an optimal temperature to receive like regen charging. So I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, but a lot of EVs now will have one pedal driving. So when you let off the accelerator, it'll actually start braking the car. That's called regenerative braking. And most of the time, this will slow down your car pretty quickly because it's charging the batteries. So there's a lot of load on the motors, and it's going to slow them down really fast. But in the winter, because your battery isn't warmed up enough, this regen is a lot less intense. So it ends up feeling like a gas car again. When you let off the accelerator, it continues to move forward. So I find myself sometimes, if it's a cold morning or something, I accidentally like get very close to rear-ending people because I think I don't need to brake.
Yeah.
And my car doesn't slow down. So most of the time I recommend that either you just be aware of this and know that it's going to take some time for your regen to get back to normal and for your car to warm up. But a lot of cars actually have the ability to adjust that as well. So you can lower that regen intensity, and just so you have a consistent driving experience the whole time and you're used to coasting more than usual. So I personally don't change those settings because I kind of know what to expect, and Tesla's got a pretty good UI where you can actually see like how much regen is available. They show like some dots on the screen. It's kind of confusing to explain on a podcast, but
make for a good video.
You're able to tell that the regen isn't going to be as intense. So I'm aware of it, and usually it takes like one time that my car doesn't slow down for me to be like, oh, I've got to start using the brake again. So
Yeah, I think it's interesting because like I both have experience with Tesla and other electric vehicles like in the winter time. I think from my experience, because most of the Teslas are all-wheel drive, so like with the heavier regen, you have both of the motors kind of like,
Oh, true.
monitoring what's
Yeah.
happening. And with our Bolts, with it being front-wheel drive, I learned very quickly, don't drive it in heavy regen or L mode in the winter, especially if you
Okay.
don't have winter tires, because you'll actually fishtail, because with the motor only being on the front axle, the back doesn't have anything really, kind of like monitoring how the car's stopping.
Oh.
So I fishtailed. That was fun. That was my first winter. Learned very quick just to use the physical brakes instead of the regen.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to know how the ID4 does with it being rear-wheel drive. The ID4's regen mode isn't like as intense as like a Tesla or like a Bolt.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'll
gonna
be
be
interesting. I wonder if that's why some EVs went with rear wheel drive, because of that case. Like if regen is off, it might be a better experience. I'm not sure though.
Possibly. I know that a lot of manufacturers like do rear-wheel drive because it's better performance. Like it enhances like all driving aspects.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, especially with the set of winter tires we got, to see
Yeah.
how that plays out. But that would be my tip. Monitor your regen, especially if you don't
Yeah.
drive an all-wheel drive vehicle.
Definitely. Yeah, that's probably the biggest driving change besides maybe some lost range is the regen. So, and that's something you definitely need to experience, I think, more than us just talking about it. So if you haven't test driven an EV or driven your friends, like definitely go try that out because it's an interesting experience.
Yes. Yeah. One other thing I do want to mention, you actually just made me think of this, the instant torque when it comes to driving in the winter time. With all electric vehicles, you get instant torque at 0 RPM, so pretty much like at the get-go. So just be mindful. Don't, punch the accelerator because you'll just spin your tires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Drive slowly.
It's a good point. Yeah, have you ever gotten stuck in the snow at all?
I'm
Your
trying
car?
to. Yes, I did with our Bolt.
Okay.
My Chevy Volt was a beast. I mean, like that thing like went through like snowstorms, no issues, not even
Wow.
winter tires.
Okay.
But the Bolt got stuck in our driveway. This was December 2020. We got hit with 20 inches of snow overnight, and actually, I'm not sure if you guys had that snowstorm in the beginning of December.
I'm sure we did.
Yeah, you just blocked it out of your memory.
Yeah, probably.
I would too with snow. But it got so stuck in the snow, and we didn't have the winter tires on because we were working from home. So like it just kind of was like, "Rrr, rrr." That's how cars sound in the wintertime.
Great impression.
I do my best. So, storing EVs, from time to time, especially in the winter time, especially recently, a lot of people have been working from home, not driving their car as much. I know not driving can really impact cars
Yeah.
in general. In fact, our neighbor's car pretty much is like dead all the time because it just sits in the
Oh, really?
garage. Yes. Yeah, we have to jump it almost like weekly to like
Jeez.
help them. But so last year, this year you have a garage, so you'll be able to plug your car in. But last year, your Model 3 sat outside pretty much
Yeah.
throughout the winter. Did you notice anything like any issues, anything like that?
The biggest issues was probably what I explained before was the snowflake would pop up and it would like show lost range because it was cold. The other issue is it tends to just ice over completely because of like certain weather conditions. So my car would often be covered in ice. The nice thing about EVs though is generally there's like an app connect or something where you can remote turn on the climate and actually heat it up. So I don't know if this is like a safe thing to do or not, but I would like blast the heat on full blast so that it would literally melt all the snow off my car. So
I think that's safe.
I would hope so. I mean, you probably do it when you're driving anyway. So yeah, I would do that just about every morning if I was driving to work. But other than that, I mean, it's not great to store a car outside in the winter regardless. So,
Yeah.
yeah, those are probably the biggest things.
Yeah, I was thinking this year is going to be interesting for us because we have one Charger and two EVs now. And last year, the Bolt would pretty much sit on the Charger outside, so like,
Yeah.
the battery would maintain its temperature and stuff like that. This year, we're probably going to keep the ID4 on the Charger, just because we
Yeah.
like that car better. But yeah,
fair.
so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. One other thing we should probably let everybody know that most EVs, well, actually all EVs have 12-volt batteries. So it's always good to monitor, like that state of charge. I know just like every car, you kind of have to keep an eye on that if it's going to go bad so you don't come outside to a dead car. But I would just say simply keep your car plugged in, and that would probably be the best advice I could give if you're just going to leave your car sitting there. Don't leave your state of charge at 100%. Keep it probably between, 60 and 80% might be the best. Especially if you're not driving it.
If you're storing long term, 50% is where you want to keep your state of charge at. That's where like the battery is the happiest because it's in like equilibrium essentially. Like half of it is
It's like in Nirvana, like just perfect paradise.
That's right. So if it's long term, you want to keep it at 50%. But if you are still driving it, like obviously you don't need to go down to the 50% because you probably need some more of the range. So like I think 90% is probably the highest you want to keep it at, and then as low as you want to go from there is better.
That's actually something I should probably do if the Bolt's not going to be driving.
Yeah, put it at 50%.
Yeah, because I think last year I left it at 100%. So
Could you put it at 50 and then just plug it into like a garage outlet, like a 110?
Yeah,
You could always do
which
that.
is probably what we're going to end up doing this year, because
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you Tyler sold the Miata this past weekend. So now we have 2 garage spaces. So now I
that.
can actually park the Bolt inside a garage, which you're not supposed to
Nice.
right now. But
It's detached, so you're
yeah,
good.
exactly. Plus, I don't want snow on it. So, you and I were talking the other day about winter tires, and I will totally be honest with everybody. I was not a firm believer in winter tires. I never really thought that you needed them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, yeah. I refused to buy an extra set because like our Volt with the V was doing so well in the winter. And then Tyler convinced me winter tires are like the best approach, and I mean, like it changed the whole driving dynamic for us.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, so you mentioned you're going to be picking up a set of winter tires?
I should be looking here in the next month or two to get some, because it's cold right now, but it's not like it hasn't started snowing or getting real slick outside. Like that's usually when those kind of like help out a lot more, right? So
yeah.
I'll be looking here. Luckily, I've got 2 sets of rims too. So I've got my Aero wheels that came with the car, and then I've also got a set of 19-inch sport wheels. So I'll probably put some sportier tires on that for next summer.
Nice.
And then just start swapping them out. So
Oh, that's great.
I got to learn how to do all this myself too, because I can't like mount the tires on there, but I want to get like one of those jacks that you can raise the car up and actually like switch out all the wheels, because that's something I could easily do myself if I had the right tools. So
Costco sells those, actually.
Do they really?
Yeah, that's it. That's where we bought ours.
Is it like a flat jack so it doesn't like mount anywhere on the battery? 'Cause that's the weird part with mine, is there's no like jack point.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. The Bolt doesn't have any jack points. We have to like find the pitch points between like the molding and like the underbody.
Yeah.
But like it has like a puck. It's like this big and it's flat.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say probably do your research. We're always like super cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't want to damage your battery pack or anything.
Definitely.
Yeah, that would not be good. But I do know Costco sells them, so if you're interested,
I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, I would say winter tires, a few pieces of advice I would have with winter tires. You will notice a decrease in efficiency just because they're not really meant for efficient driving. They're meant for traction purposes. So you will notice a decrease in driving efficiency, and they will be much louder than you anticipate.
Oh, really?
Yes. That because with your EV not making any engine sounds, you can hear like the road noise more, and the Bolt's winter tires literally sound like a UFO as you're driving. It's like
Really?
I'll try
That's
to record it
interesting.
this year because it's like a high pitched whine the entire
Interesting.
drive.
Okay.
But it honestly, I think I give them full credit to be driving like in inches of snow and like ice.
Wow.
They are fantastic.
Okay. That's good to know. Any other stories you have from winter driving you want to share before we wrap up here that you can think of?
Oh, yes. So if your car doesn't have app connectivity, make sure, well, this goes back to the Bolt because that poor car is just the car. Make sure you set your temperature before you get out of the car as well as your fan speed. That way when you turn on preconditioning, it will automatically go right back to that. But if you have fancy cars like the Tesla and the ID4, you can just do that from your phone.
Adjust all that, yeah.
Right from your phone.
Yeah, I guess aside from regen, when you are driving, the other thing that is nice about EVs is they do have a very low center of gravity just because of that battery pack. Most of them mount them kind of on the bottom plate of the car. So that helps a lot with if you do start slipping, because you've got kind of a consistent, like, where the car is going to go. It's not like it's got a ton of weight in one area or not, and you're not going to fishtail as often. Especially on all-wheel drive. I know with the front-wheel drive in your Bolt, it's probably a little different because it's the weight distribution isn't quite even.
Yeah.
But if you've got an all-wheel drive EV, then that's super handy. The only other thing I'll kind of wrap up with some tips here. A lot of these we got from Tesla's website, and I've also done a video on a lot of those tips as well. The only one I don't think we've touched on from that video is making sure you're wiping down your car completely if it is snowy, which you should be doing anyway as a driver.
Yeah, because
it's just wiping down your car.
Doesn't make engine heat.
Yeah, it doesn't make engine heat. So especially on the front trunk or front hood area of EVs, it's not going to melt off when you start driving. So, which
Definitely
is super
forgot
weird.
about that.
Super weird, but yeah, you should be wiping down your whole car. It's really inconsiderate to other drivers, I think, if you're not wiping down your car because then snow is flying all over the place.
And it's just dangerous.
It's dangerous. Yeah, just take the 5 or 10 minutes and do it before you hop in your car, or just preheat your car and hopefully it all melts off. That's usually what I do. So, the other reason to do it, especially if you've got a Tesla, and I believe ID4 would probably be the same because it's got some cameras on there, is those cameras needs to be clear as well. So if snow's covering those, then sometimes your driver assist features or autopilot, whatever you're using, isn't going to work as well. So we'll have my winter driving tips video linked in the description below, along with Tesla's winter driving tips linked down there as well. You got any jokes for this episode?
I'm trying to think of any. I don't have.
I feel like there's a pun with like ice. Like internal combustion engine and ice, like cold weather. I feel like there's a pun in there somewhere, but I don't know what.
I'm struggling today. I'm trying to think. I can't think of anything. This is what happens when we record in the morning. I don't have time to.
That's right.
Jumpstart my electric motor.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll try to think of some.
Okay. So that's all for today's episode. Let us know. Oh, we were going to give some updates on the podcast too, which I don't think we did, of like how to send us messages and stuff.
So yeah, we are looking forward to interacting more with the audience this season as well as future seasons of Living Electric. If you are interested in sending us a question, you could definitely do that via our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But there's a feature through Anchor, which is the platform we are putting our podcast out on, where you can actually send us voice messages. And you can ask us questions that way. So if you are interested in doing that, all you have to do is go to anchor.fm/living-electric. that's a lot to do, especially if you're driving. We'll put it in the description. But there's a button where it says messages, and all you have to do is simply, I believe you just put in some of your user information, and then you just send us a voice question or message. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, I think the only difficult part about that, and we've been trying to find some workaround for it, is you do have to have an Anchor account created to do that. But it's pretty easy. It's just like your name and email and stuff. It's no like it's not a lot of private information. And the odds of you getting on the podcast are quite high if you submit one of these voice messages, because we have not received any yet. So definitely get on there and send us a question. We're going to try to start answering a question per episode just to interact a little bit more with our audience here. So
definitely. And I guess, should we talk about what to look forward to for season 3?
Sure.
We are having more guests on our show. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, this should be fun. We've got to reach out to a lot of guests here. I think those conversations are a little bit more exciting sometimes than just hearing us two go back and forth talking about the same stories. So we're excited about that. If you have any potential guests that you would like to hear from, definitely let us know as well.
And if you are in the EV industry, or if you are interested in electric vehicles, let us know too, because we could definitely have you on as a guest as well. Learn about what you're doing.
For sure, yeah. We like connecting with everybody, no matter what you're doing in the EV space. So, love to hear from you. So that'll do it for episode 1 of season 3 here. We're excited for the future of living electric, and hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next week.